sunflower cooking oil, my preferred cooking oil of choice. Today I'm going to be showing you my version of doing a Nashville, Texas fried chicken inspired. Let's get right into it. So as always, before we get into it, let me take you guys through the ingredients and what we've got prepped here, and then from there onwards the steps. I've got some chicken fillets here that's brined overnight, as always, marinated in a little bit of fresh ginger and garlic powder, fresh ginger and garlic or ginger and garlic powder. Either ways, you'll be fine. Now in here we're going to go in with some fried chicken spice. We will just add this in here, a little bit of cooking oil, the sunflower cooking oil, and marinate our chicken and keep it aside while we get started with the rest of the preps. So with this, we also remember to make sure you add some salt because we don't have any salt in these spices. So let's get right into it. Some cooking oil, the sunflower cooking oil, which is my preferred choice of oil because it's good for your heart, low in cholesterol, high in polyunsaturated fat, and it's just got all the good things. So just enough oil in here for us to season and marinate this really, really well. And while this sits and gets marinated, we'll move on to the rest of the ingredients. While the chicken gets marinated, we're just going to do a simple dressing for our onions and jalapenos that's going to be used for the topping. So I've got some red onion here that I'm just going to slice. The thickness of the onions is totally up to you. We're also going to do some jalapenos and just slice them as thick or as thin as you wish. Onions going in, jalapenos going in, and we've got some lettuce leaves that are here, fresh lettuce leaves that I've just washed and kept aside. I've also got some gherkins here. Now in here I've got a little bit of sugar, a little bit of whole roasted coriander and some fennel seed that goes in here, and we will also add some white wine vinegar or sweet vinegar. If you can find malt vinegar, that also works perfectly fine. A little bit of salt, and we're just going to leave this here for it to just the moisture to release, for the juices from the onions to come through, and all the flavors to come together. So a little bit of salt, and we give it a nice toss and we keep it aside. What I am also going to do is I am going to just slice my cucumbers and keep it ready so that when it's time for us to assemble it, then it's super easy and super quick for us to get going. So that sits here, and while that sits here, let us just slice our cucumbers and also keep it ready with the lettuce. So I find, in my opinion, these little gherkins are a lot more sweeter in taste than the English cucumber, and that's usually why I prefer using gherkins instead of English cucumbers. And I also find it's got a little bit more of a taste compared to your English cucumbers. I find the English cucumbers water content is quite high, so I almost always prefer using gherkins instead of English cucumbers. Right, so that's done, and now we'll move on to the chicken cut. Okay, I just want to slice this here. Alright guys, so before we start with the dredging of the chicken, which I'm going to explain to you in a bit, let's pop the heat on into our pan, and I'm going to go in with some sunflower cooking oil, and we're going to allow this to come to heat gently and gradually. And while that gets done, let us get into the technique of how we are going to be doing the dredging on this chicken. So the important part to remember is you've got a bowl of white flour that's here, and we're going to season it in a bit now with some salt and the same spices that we've used in the chicken, just so that we've got all the flavors coming through every step of the way. I've also got a bowl of water here, just clean water that's ready here, and I'm going to show you in a bit. And what this technique is going to do is basically it's just going to show you the dredging technique, which is going to give you super simple, crispy chicken fillets. You could do that with chicken pieces as well. You can do that with chicken. You can do this technique with chicken wings as well, or chicken thighs. Any sort of chicken will work. What's really nice about it is that little breadcrumb sort of effect that we get when we are doing when we see fried chicken at KFC, Popeyes, any of those places. This is that technique, so follow the steps through. So first and foremost, let's get into the seasoning. We're going to season the flour with some salt, and it's important to remember to season the flour, because if you have your chicken that's seasoned, but if your flour isn't seasoned or your coating isn't seasoned, you're literally going to lose all the flavors, the chicken being nice and juicy, but the flour is not and the coating is not, and that is when you've got basically your chicken that's just going to have a bland coating. Right, so as the oil comes to heat, we make sure that we've seasoned the flour, and you should have enough flour in here to coat your chicken generously. Alright guys, so simple. I've got a slotted spoon that's ready here, and I'm going to leave this in my bowl of water for ease. It's going to make my life easier. So with the help of a fork, I'm going to just take my chicken piece and coat it into this mixture here of my flour that's seasoned, and then we are going to pop it out of here. And ideally you only want to use one hand at a time, because you want to have your other hand sort of clean. Right, into the slotted spoon, and then we are going to dip it into the water, and just ever so lightly make sure that it's coated nicely. Excess water off, into this flour mixture again, and this is when we'll go in with our hands and just make sure that we coat this chicken super well. And then from here onwards, we are going to pop this into our oil, medium hot oil, and we're going to fry this till the chicken is nice and cooked through. And just make sure all the crevices of the chicken has got the coating, because we want it to be nice and crispy. Now, if you'd like to do this in a grilled chicken option, simply omit the flour and go in with just your seasoning. Alright guys, and that is our chicken, nice and golden and crispy. And while that was getting some color, we prepped a bread. I've used ciabatta today. You could easily use sourdough, use burger buns, use whatever it is that you prefer. We're going to pop the heat on here, and we're going to allow these bread to toast. We've buttered it a little bit. We're going to pop it in here, and we're going to let this toast gently. And while that gets done, what I am going to do is, now a simple technique, what we're going to do is to add extra flavor into this chicken. We are going to use the same cooking oil that we've used, put it in here, and just do a little basting sauce, which is going to be what the Nashville chicken is all about. We're going to go in with some more of the fried chicken spice, a little bit of the Creole sriracha, as well as a little bit of the honey. The technique is to use the hot oil from the chicken that you have used to fry your chicken. You don't want to be using fresh oil. All the flavors are in here, so we're going to use it from the oil from the same pan here. I've put the heat on into a saucepan, and we're going to simply just bring it all together. So going in with a spoon. Alright guys, and that's our chicken done. We've got a nice crispy coating, similar to what we find when we buy chicken from KFC, Popeyes, all of those places. So the technique, it's all in the technique. Flour, water, flour, and dredge it really, really nicely. That's our crispy chicken done. We're going to keep this aside just for a few minutes. Just check on that bread, and while that gets done, I am going to just grab some oil from here. I'm going to go in some hot oil, And into this hot oil, watch that bread in the meantime. Let the heat come through in here. Going in with a little bit of the fried chicken spice, the same seasoning or the same spice that you would use in your chicken to marinate your chicken. Some sriracha. And a little bit of honey. All that comes together. And let's give that a good mix. And we are going to use this to coat our beautiful chicken, and just like that we're going to drizzle it or coat it on both sides. Now you could do that easily with your chicken pieces, chicken thigh meat, wings, whatever it is. Let's get that bread toasted, and it's time to assemble this beautiful sandwich. Nolan, you have to. You can't not. There we go. And I'm popping a little bit into my cameraman's mouth. You have to give your honest opinion. What do you say? That's nice, eh? It's super yum. It's crispy, it's tender, it's packed with flavor. It's everything you want in a crispy chicken. I can't even explain to you guys. The flavors are just incredible. And that's it, guys. Thank you for joining me once again for another edition of Cooking with Priya and Sunfoil, my preferred choice of cooking oil.